Stop the steal was a common phrase used by Trump and all of his sycophants from the time he lost the 2020 election. And in this breaking story, it is coming home to roost for all of us if we don't pay attention. I completely understand that we don't like fine print. There's a lot of minutia and specificity that we don't like to pay attention to, but in this breaking story, we have to. Because what Senator Elizabeth Warren has dropped on the Trump transition team and the U.S. government is so crucial to what is about to happen in this country for the next 4 years. We cannot dismiss it, and we cannot pretend it doesn't exist. And Elizabeth Warren is spot on in this breaking story.
Let's be real clear. Donald Trump is looking out for exactly one guy, and that guy's name is Donald Trump.
Because Donald Trump himself, as we know, can't stand her, right?
Although we have a representative in Congress who they say was here a long time ago. They call her Pocahontas.
They're going to cover Pocahontas? Who was she of the great tribal heritage? What tribe is it? Let me think about that one. Meantime, she's based her life on being a minority. Pocahontas. They always want me to apologize for saying it.
Donald Trump and congressional Republicans have made perfectly clear that they are planning another huge tax giveaway to billionaires and billionaire corporations. Donald Trump said it out loud on the campaign trail. Big tax cuts will be a payoff for his rich as hell donors.
But from Stephen Colbert to Pocahontas jokes to what she just said in the Senate just a few days ago, Trump is setting his transition team up to absolutely and unequivocally go into this second administration with as many guardrails away from him and what he wants to do. Remember, this is the guy who said, I and I alone can fix it. Except for, of course, fix it is never what he means. What he actually means is I and I alone can steal it. And this breaking story goes to show the letter that Elizabeth Warren just sent to our government is imperative that we do not overlook. Because if we do, and just like Trump being the one president who never disclosed his taxes, if we let this man into this office for a second time with what he's learned about how all this works and where all the gaps and all the leaks and all the holes are for normalcy, we may not have an America to come back to in 2028. Take a listen to this. In a new letter, Senator Elizabeth Warren is demanding answers from the General Services Administration on the, in quotes, serious consequences of Trump's unprecedented refusal to complete required transition agreements. No prior president-elect has refused to sign these agreements. Dear Administrator Carnahan, President-elect Donald Trump is undermining his own ability to effectively manage national security emergencies, urgent public health and safety threats, and corruption risks as he prepares to take office in January. The Trump-Vance 2025 transition has refused to sign Memoranda of Understanding, also known as MOUs, with the outgoing Biden-Harris administration. These are normally mundane agreements that, since their creation, no prior president-elect has refused to sign. Furthermore, to ensure an orderly transfer of power, the Presidential Transition Act directs the outgoing administration to pursue MOUs with presidential transition teams. By September 1st, 2024, the Trump transition should have entered an MOU with the GSA regarding the provision of administrative support services, and by October 1, the Trump transition should have entered an MOU with the White House regarding access to federal employees, facilities, and documents. The Trump transition has said it has an intent to sign those MOUs, but thus far has refused to sign either one. All Americans share an interest in presidential administrations being prepared to handle the basic governance of executive branch agencies, public health and safety threats, and national security emergencies. Trump's team unprecedented refusal to sign agreements with the outgoing administration threatens the American public by hamstringing incoming officials' ability to govern responsibly. This uncharted territory, since the Presidential Transition Act's MOU provisions were enacted, never has an incoming administration refused to sign agreements with an outgoing administration. The Trump transition has also refused to publish an ethics plan, increasing the risk of the incoming administration governing for the benefit of special interests rather than the American public. Under the Presidential Transition Enhancement Act, presidential candidates are required to develop and publicly release ethics plans for their transition teams prior to the election, as the relevant Senate committee explained when advancing the bill. Former President Trump himself signed that requirement into law in March of 2020. That bipartisan bill, led by Senator Ron Johnson, was uncontroversial and passed Congress with overwhelming support. The bill adopted much of my transition team Ethics Improvement Act, which was developed in response to the Government Accountability Office's 2017 findings that the first Trump transition had ignored ethics standards. And the transition's leadership has asserted that the agreements are not important issues. By refusing to cooperate with the outgoing administration, the Trump transition cannot adequately prepare to govern responsibly. And now realize, when you hear that and you understand what Trump and Vance are not doing so that they can do later and write their own ticket, write their own rules. This is a guy who, of course, on the campaign trail said, Project 2025, don't even really know what it is. And yet now he's appointed at least 3 or 4 people who are directly responsible for the creation of Project 2025. Oh yes, folks, we are in deep, and this minutia is something we have got to stay focused on. Stay frosty, stay strong. See you soon.